Hey guys, Shadow Reviewer here. Well, here we are, another Squid Game video. I have done 2025 protagonists. I've done H2O Mako Mermaids. Last month I just done Sly Cooper. What is the next topic? Well, I like Pokemon, as you can see, but I also like Pokemon contests. So, why not do this? Which Pokemon coordinator would win Squid Game? I've been wanting to do this one for a while. And also, one heads up, I've been coughing since last night, so if I'm coughing at some points in the video, my apologies for that. My throat is itching so bad, but I'm not gonna let that stop me from doing these videos. I am not willing to give up. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So here are the ground rules. No outside weapons, no magic, no allies or sidekicks. But in this special Squid Game, we'll be allowing these coordinators to use one Pokemon. So no double performances, just one to make it evenly fair. And for these trainers, we'll allow them to use their best Pokemon. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. And here are the 33 contestants in the Squid Game. From the Pokemon Advance series, we have Jeanette, Chaz, May, Drew, Grace, Jessie, Dr. Abby, Timmy, Savannah, Kelly, Harley, Joshua, Erica, Robert, Anthony, Jeremy, Brianna, Brock, Yumiya, Molly, Soledad, Ash. From the Diamond and Pearl series, we have Dawn, Joanna, Nando, Zoe, Kenny, Kyle, Fantina, Lila, Ursula, James, and of course, the top coordinator himself, Wallace. So, let's do round one. Red light, green light. Here are the rules for this one. Green light says you can move. Red light means stop. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated. So pretty much the only way to win in this game is to pretty much have listening to instructions and staying focused. So let's look at the ones who are pretty good listeners. Chaz and Janet taking advice from coordinators or listening to each other is great. May is a bit of a slow starter, but once she catches on about the game, she instantly listens. Drew is calm and collected, so of course, him having good listening skills and listening to others is in his foreplay. Grace is a great listener, and also one to get people to other listen. Dr. Abby, being a scientist, is able to listen in for when green light and red light means. Savannah stays calm, healthy, and collected. Brock, despite his promiscuities about other people, is a very good listener in terms of also giving advice. Yumi is, of course, being an absolute teacher, is willing to protect herself and little Molly from danger. Joanna is a great listener and is able to listen for when the next red light goes. Lila has good detection skills and good listening skills. Ursula is very patient, but also knows when to strike and when to go. Now let's look at the ones with the most focus. Being a Pokeblock expert, Kelly has the most focus. Being an absolute patient-focused person, Harley easily aces this round. Joshua, being calm and collected, can know when the next green light goes. Jeremy, despite him being a Rockabella, is very good when it comes to staying focused. Brianna, despite her age, would probably stay behind Drew throughout the entire game. When he moves, she moves. Soledad would also do the same, and in her own special way. Despite his brashness, Ash surprisingly would able to pass this round, despite his brashness at times. Dawn would have at least do the same, sticking with Ash. Nando, being the most calm and collected one, would show no emotions during the gunplay. Zoe, being the most calm and collected, will know to stay focused. Kyle, surprisingly, will stay focused even when things don't go his way, most of the time, but still enough to save his own life. But Wallace and Fantina, being top coordinators, easily know that staying the focus easily helps them. Now, sadly, there are those who never have those qualities. These are the ones who would panic. And sadly, these are the ones that would panic the most. Jesse and James, being Team Rocket members, easily would probably straight back to the door when bullets start flying. Timmy, getting his math knocked off once again, was panicking on stage and not knowing what to do. Anthony, being the most innocent person, wouldn't know the difference and start panicking. Same with Kenny. When things are too real for him, he'll just run away. Sorry guys, players, you are eliminated. And there's only one character that's not the greatest listener. And that is, to no one's surprise, Erica. Not listening to both either Joshua or May when she misunderstands about the two's quote-unquote relationship. So if she's not listening to them, she ain't listening to the gods or the rules. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 27 players. Let's move on to round 2. Honeycomb. Ignore that, it's meant to say honeycomb. Sorry about that, editing mistake. You must cut out the shape of your cookie. You break it or run out of time, you lose. So pretty much the object of this game is pretty much having patience, steady hands, and the ability to focus. Of course, the ones who are patient, Jeanette and Chaz being patient with their Pokemon, Drew having the utmost patience and no go, Grace having the abilities of a martial artist, Dr. Abby being a scientist, Savannah being, well, a parent, Harley being able to strike the opponent when he needs to, has the utmost patience, Joshua being surprisingly patient even when Erica doesn't get her way, Robert being absolutely quiet but know when to be patient. Brock is surprisingly patient when it comes to his friends, even when they have their good or worse moments. Yumia being a teacher, and of course guiding Molly to safety. Joanna being of course Dawn's mother. Dander being, well, a bard and a great coordinator. Zoe having the most patience waiting for opponents to strike. Fantina being able to do the same. Same with Lila and Ursula, waiting for their opponents to strike, and given their patience, are able to cut out their cookies just fine. Then we got the two characters with absolute steady hands. Dawn being a great, excellent puffin maker and a good sew artist, and of course Kelly being a great Pokeblocker maker. And here are the ones with the most focus. When it comes to focus, May can easily cut when it's needed. Jeremy being a rockabilly star, and of course, well, if he's good with his hands, he's good with a needle. Brianna being surprisingly the most patient, despite her age. Soledad being the utmost patience, and while he can be brash at times, Ash knows when patience means patience. Same with Kyle. And yeah, surprisingly, everybody makes it past this round. Yeah, that's it. Still 27 people. Let's move on to round 3. 6 like a pentathlon. Get into a group of 5 and work together. Do neither of these things and you and your team are eliminated. So pretty much you have to pick a team varying on their strengths and use that said strength to beat each of the 5 games right in front of you. Now let's look at the 5 teams that can easily pass this round. Team 1, regarding, of course, the main characters, that being May, Brock, Ash, Dawn, and given that she's pretty friendly with Dawn and May, Zoe, of course, will join the team. Let's look more of the experienced coordinators. Janet, Chaz, Grace, and Yumiya are easily can pass this round, work together as a team. Of course, with a little persuasion, Molly joins the team regarding her safety. Let's look at the slightly younger teenager players who are not exactly slacking in combat. That being Drew, Kelly, Josh, and Soledad. And given that she's a big fan of Drew's, of course, Brianna enters the team with Drew being okay with it. Now for Team 4, being, well, most of the evil team. Most being Harley and Ursula, with, of course, Robert and Kyle joining in, given, well, Robert being the curious regarding safety, and, of course, Kyle hating both Dawn and Ash. And as for Savannah, well, given her naivete, of course they let her participate, given, well, being her, she's so nice. Now for the last team. The older figures. Mostly Joanna and Jeremy were there, given their children, Fantina and Lila being the most experienced coordinators, and Nando being the utmost patient character. All 5 would easily team up, given the adults left in this game. Now let's look at the 2 that certainly couldn't pick teams. And that's certainly Dr. Abby. I mean, she may be the brainy type, but people don't know her that much except May. But given that she's already picked her team, no one's picking Dr. Abby. And as for Wallace, well, some people are too intimidated to mount with such a nice guy like him. And given all the other players, there's no room left for him either. Players, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 25 players. Let's move on to round 4. Mingle. You stand in a large circular room and a number will be called out. If you don't make it in time or get into the wrong group of numbers, you will be eliminated. So pretty much, ruthlessness and survival are the only ways to win in this game. Let's look at the ones who are pretty damn ruthless. Drew, while not entirely heartless, can be ruthless when he wants to be, securing himself as a place of number 1. Then mostly goes for Harley, Kyle, and Ursula. But the ones who can be ruthless when they want to be and not backing out, Lila and Fantina, while not entirely 100% heartless, can easily strike their opponents when they least expect it, prompting their survival. It's the ones who are just easily the ones to survive. Janet and Chad secure a room for themselves. May can secure a room for herself alone. Grace is a survivalist. Kelly is well determined. Joshua can secure a room for himself. Robert, being an absolute quiet, can sneak away. Brianna would probably secure a room with May to keep herself safe. Soledad could probably supply herself a room with Robert. Ash and Dawn can supply a room for themselves. Nando can quietly slip away, and Zoe can easily secure a room for herself, given her own chance of survival. And the only 2 that get saved, probably by one of the characters who dies in this round, are Yumiya and Molly. Given that, well, Yumiya is the eye of affection for a certain womanizer, and Molly would be totally lost without Yumiya. Now let's look at the characters who sadly didn't make it. Let's look at the sacrifices. Jeremy and Joanna would easily sacrifice themselves to people. Joanna makes sure that Dawn is given a room securing, and Jeremy will probably help younger players to try and get to their rooms in time. And as for Brock, well, he would be the one to save Yumiya and Molly to make sure that they've got a room for themselves, sacrificing themselves in the process. Players, you are eliminated. Now let's look at the one character that was way too slow on the floor, and that is Savannah. While she may be a caring, sweet parent, she would panic way too easily, and given the amount of players, she would either just be knocked out or trampled to death. Player, you are eliminated. Now we're just down to 21 players. Let's move on to round 5, the Midnight Brawl. So pretty much, there is no lights out for anybody here. So pretty much, you're either a fighter or you hide to stay alive. Do none of these things and you are eliminated. And for this case, we'll be allowing these coordinators to use their Pokemon. And as I said in the intro, it's their strongest Pokemon. So let's look at the fighters. Of course, Jeanette would use her Beautifly in combat, and Chance would use his Venomoth. They can easily pass this round. May and her Blaziken are super strong and can survive without getting blasted. Of course, Drew would definitely use Roselia to put his opponents to sleep. Grace and Medichan can easily just fight off other players with bare hands. Kelly would probably just use Grumpig, Psychic Attack to stir anyone back. Robert would use his Milo to take the water abilities. Brianna would use her Vibra to create sand attacks. Soledad would probably use her Slowbro as a psychic ability. Ash would definitely use Pikachu to give everyone a nasty electric shock. Dawn and her Piplup would just create more water-based attacks. Nando would definitely use Cricketun's Bug Buzz attack, or even the Sing attack to put him to sleep. Sally would definitely use her Glam, for sneaker subtle attacks. Kyle would definitely use his lantern as a nasty shock. Fatina would definitely use her Drumflint to hypnotize anybody. And as for Lila, well, her dad Petty, to quote Lila herself, and the flowers have bloomed. So pretty much, she's pretty much nearly undefeatable. Now let's look at the ones who would hide. Well, Harley may want to fight. He's more of a coward. So him hiding, he's a very good hider. Of course, Yumio would just hide with Molly until the brawl was over. And as for Ursula, she would just wait out in the shadows and wait for the brawl to be over. And there's sadly one character that doesn't stand a chance against either, and that is Joshua. Despite him having a powerful Houndoom, given the way he lost to May during the Pacific Law contest, if he can't defeat May, I don't think he's able to stand up against anybody else. Sorry, Joshua. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 20 players. Let's move on to round 6, Tug of War. Work in a team or have some super strength. Do neither and you lose. So pretty much, working together or having super amounts of strength are your best bets in this round. Here are the ones who would easily work in a team. Jeanette and Chance will work together well. May would definitely work well with Ash, Dawn, and Zoe. Drew can easily team up if the situation calls for it. Kelly can easily team up with May. Harley, despite him more being a loner, given he worked with Team Rocket in one episode, he can easily work with others if it needs to. Given that she's a big fan of Drew, Brianna will definitely say yes to a team up. Yumi and Molly can easily work together. Soledad can easily work with somebody. Fantina, despite her being more of a loner than a fighter, she is more of a leader, so her feminine wiles can easily persuade others to work with her. Lila is easily a good player, and as for Ursula, well, despite her more being a loner, can easily just corrupt others to do her bidding. So pretty much, she has this in the bag. Now let's look at the only person with massive strength, and that's surprisingly Grace. I mean, given her amounts of super strength, she can easily pull on the ropes if she wanted to for amounts of strength. So anyone working with her will have an easy win. Here are certainly players who do neither of those. And that is Nando and Kyle. Ignore that. Nando doesn't have the demands of super strength, and Kyle's not exactly the greatest team player. Players, you are eliminated. And here's one who doesn't do teamwork at all, and that's Robert. He's a quiet loner, but given that he's not exactly super strong or just doesn't work with others, he's not in the game. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 17 players. Let's move on to round 7, Hide or Seek. If you're a hider, hide. If you're a seeker, kill. Do neither, and you lose. So pretty much, in this game, if you're a hider, you have to wait, hide it out for the next 30 minutes to survive. If you're a seeker, you have to eliminate somebody anybody, or in the world of Pokemon, knock somebody out until the brawl is over, until time is up. So let's look at the ones who can easily be hiders and seekers. For hiders, we have Drew, Grace, Harley, Brianna, Yumiya, Molly, Soledad, Zoe, and Ursula. Let's look at the seekers. We have Jeanette, Chaz, May, Kelly, Ash, Dawn, Fatina, and Lila. Now let's look at the ones who are pretty good hiders. Drew can easily sneak out if he wanted to. Grace can easily just knock out anyone who's trying to attack her pretty easily. Harley, as we said before, is a coward and easily can sneak around. Yumi and Molly can easily look out for each other. Calls for it. Soledad can easily herself. Zoe is a very sneaky hider, and Ursula can easily just wait out in the shadows to either attack the person attacking her, or just wait it out. Now let's look at the seekers. May would be a great seeker, being able to knock out weaker opponents that are weaker than her. Kelly can easily just use Gunpei for psychic abilities. Ash can easily just tackle somebody and knock them out, or Pikachu in this case. Dawn can easily just use Peplup to knock Johnny down. Fantina can easily hypnotize somebody with Driftblim, and Lila can easily just use Sing to put them to sleep, easily winning herself a victory. Now let's look at the players who are not so lucky in either case. The only hider to die in this game is Brianna. She's not exactly, one to fight for herself, and given, Drew was not there to save her, there's no one to save you this time. Player, you are eliminated. Now let's look at the other two who, sadly, is not very good seekers. They wouldn't let a finger on anybody. Way too sweet. Players, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 14 players. Let's move on to round 8. Marbles. Win a game of marbles with either luck, skill, or good old-fashioned manipulation. The loser is eliminated. So yeah, as she says, you either win by good old skill, luck, or manipulating your opponent into giving you their marbles. So let's look at the 7 matchups. First we have Ash versus May. Now, you would think May could easily outsmart Ash, given she's more smarter than he is. Ash is way too noble to try and trick May, so he sacrifices himself to save her. Player, you are eliminated. Next up, we have Yumiya versus Molly. And, given her wisely teachy ways, she wouldn't be able to hurt Molly if she could. Here's another sacrifice, Yumiya. Player, you are eliminated. Next up, we have Drew versus Soledad. Same goes with Yumiya. Soledad wouldn't hurt Drew if she could. Pretty much, she would sacrifice herself to make sure that Drew moves on. Player, you are eliminated. Next up, we have Fantina versus Lila. Now, this was goddamn tricky. These two are probably the smartest characters still alive left in the game. I mean, Fantina is a gym leader, and Lila, she's the only one to defeat Joanna in a contest. I mean, Dawn was barely able to beat her. So, in terms of luck, skill, ability, Fantina's a top coordinator. So I think she slightly has the edge over Lila. She can easily point out Lila's flaw and exploited her ability. So, Fantina wins this out just barely. Player, you are eliminated. Next up, we have Harley versus Ursula. Now, Harley would probably try and coax Ursula into taking away her marbles, but here's the thing. Ursula is way too hard to trick. Now, Harley could try and get under her skin, but once again, Ursula could probably just get under his skin. Hell, she'd probably trick him into giving her his marbles, pretty much using his old trick against him. So, Ursula definitely beats him out in this game. Player, you are eliminated. Next up, we have Grace versus Kelly. And given the amounts of the two, Grace is a lot more smarter and a lot more unpredictable. She can easily outsmart Kelly if she could. Player, you are eliminated. And lastly, we have Dawn versus Zoe. Now, Zoe could easily just outsmart Dawn and win the game already. But this is the thing with Zoe. She she is way too nice to outsmart people. So, given that Dawn is clearly her best friend, she pretty much tricks Dawn into taking her marbles, pretty much forfeiting the game and making sure that Dawn continues on. At least Zoe does give her one thing though. Do not let my defeat go in vain. Player, you are eliminated. Now down to 7 players. Let's move on to round 9. Glass stepping stones. Yep, that's pretty much it. The only way to win is just to go last. And the only ones that can easily pass this round are these 6. Despite her brightness fair with others, May would probably take the entrance given, well, she can be a pretty bit spooked sometimes, but given that she's worked well with others, she can easily just work with somebody else and wait out until somebody else takes their turn. Drew is so calm and collected, he just wishes to stay last. Grace could easily figure out what's tempered and what's broken, leading her team to victory. Of course, Dawn, May, and Drew would definitely follow her the whims. Fantina is a lot more cautious. And can easily figure out it by herself. Ursula would just wait it out until everybody got in front and be the real last person to go. And that sadly leaves one person that doesn't live in this round, Molly. I mean, come on. She's the youngest character still left in the game. I mean, do you really think she's gonna wait it out? Sorry, kid. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 6 players. Let's move on to the round 10. Jump rope. Time your jumps and be fast. Do neither of the scenes and you lose. So pretty much, you have to pretty much time your jumps and, well, be quick about it. For the ones who are pretty speedy jumpers or just good jumpers can easily pass this round, no problem. No problem. And here are the 5 players that can easily pass this round if they wanted to. Drew, being the calm and collected one, can easily just know when to stop and when to go, taking his time but also not slowing himself down. Grace, being the absolute speedy one, can and when the rope is going to get faster, pretty much being the first person to make it across without breaking a sweat. Of course, being the absolute gentleman, Drew eventually helps Dawn make it across, with, of course, Fantina coming slowly behind her to help Seed. Of course, the last two to need to get across only is May and Ursula. Of course, Ursula being the conniving, sneaky one, sees May as an obstacle, that will slow them all down. So, to push off the weight, Ursula pushes May off the rope. I mean, to be fair, if Ursula didn't do it, May would have just panicked and mistimed her jump. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's just down to 5 players. Let's move on to round 11. Squid Game. The only way to win is to be the last of the 2 left standing. Starting off at the square tower. Let's look at the 5 players still alive in the game. Grace, Dawn, Fantina, Ursula, and Drew. Of course, let's look at the 4 players that can easily make it out. Grace can just easily push the button, getting herself to safety. Fantina would definitely follow suit to get her size. Of course, when Dawn tries to get across, Ursula grabbed her back, making sure she doesn't try to run. Of course, Drew, being the absolute gentleman, would stop Ursula and challenge her to a fight, making sure that Dawn makes it across. However, given Ursula's sneaky, conniving ways, she easily outsmarts Drew during battle, and with her good bite, easily could just defeat Rosalia and knock Drew off the platform. Sorry, Drew. Player, you are eliminated. Now onto the Triangle Tower. Let's look at the matchups again. Before anyone could press for the buttons, Ursula tries to convince Fantina that Grace and Dawn are the enemy. So Dawn are the enemy and tries to attack them. However, Fantina is not exactly falling for him this time, and while she and Ursula argue, Grace pushes the button and helps Dawn get across. Make sure that her and Dawn get across very quickly. So they each fight it out with Fantina versus Ursula. And given her contest-based experience, she easily defeats Ursula in a contest battle. So meaning that Ursula stands no chance against Fantina. Player, you are eliminated. Now on to the final tower, the Circle Tower. Now it's just down to the last three players, Grace, Dawn, and Fantina. Of course, Fantina can easily just knock these two out and win herself. However, Grace and Dawn realize that Fantina is way too powerful to take on one by one, so they decide to team up. And Dawn, knowing that May knows her from the past, can eventually agrees to it. With her Medicham and Piplup, they easily outsmart Fantina in her Drift Blim. Given that she can't take two on at once, Fantina is pretty much done for and the last one to die in this round. Player, you are eliminated. Now it's down to two players. Moving on to the final game, Squid. Final round, Squid Game. Excuse that again. So for this one, we're going to make this final one a contest battle. One with the most points wins the game. And here are our last two combatants for this round. Grace from the Pokemon Advance series and Dawn from the Diamond and Pearl series. The last two standing. Of course, Grace being the most experienced one, you would think that she and Medicham have it down. But here's the thing. Dawn has the most out-of-context experience. She got to the final of the Grand Festival after all. Given that May defeated Grace and that Dawn defeated May, I'm pretty sure that Dawn easily wins the match. She can easily outsmart Grace with a lot of contest combinations that Medicham won't see coming. So, Dawn easily wins the match and the entire game. So congratulations to Dawn on winning the Squid Game. Congratulations to Dawn from the Diamond and Pearl Saga for winning the Squid Game. Hopefully she uses that money well for herself and her Pokemon. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comments below who you think should have won the Pokemon Contest Squid Game Extravaganza. And that's the end of the video, folks. Hope you like it. Give me a thumbs up, like, and comment, and subscribe. And I hope to get more videos like this. Speaking of which, later today, I'll be back to Family Guy with my review of Family Guy Season 5. Keep an eye out for that video. Until then, I'm the Shadow Reviewer, signing off.